Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.
The champion!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost, your destination to get a fresh perspective and in-depth analysis from the world of sports. Hi, I'm Rupha Ramani, and let's get started. Now, sports is also about the underdogs. It celebrates not just the most powerful, but also those who are in search of that one glorious moment. Sport is where you can see even the best falter, where you will witness David defeating Goliath. So on the show today, we look at the genesis and growth of cricket in Afghanistan. For a country rife in turmoil, cricket undoubtedly is the one source of joy and happiness. After that loss, what is England thinking? Is it just another defeat, or will they turn things around like a champion side? And speaking of heroes and their Achilles heel, what about Lewis Hamilton? A champion Formula One rider finds himself on collision course once again. Just what is it about Lewis Hamilton and the fraught relationships that he's had with his own teammates? All that and more on our show today, but first, all the headlines from the world of sports in Sports 360. Cricket has received the green light in sport's most reputed event. The International Olympic Committee has approved the proposal to include it in the 2028 Olympics. Flag football, lacrosse, squash and baseball softball are the other disciplines to be included. The 141st IOC session, of course, is underway in India. Moving to the Cricket World Cup, coming fresh off 2 victories, South Africa is now headed for their third match against the Netherlands tomorrow. The match will be played at the very picturesque Dharamshala. South Africa ruling the roost in rugby as well. They ended France's aspirations of clinching a maiden World Cup title. France was eliminated after a 28-29 loss in the quarter-final clash. The Springboks made the difference in the second half of the game. South Africa's semi-final encounter is against England on the 22nd of October. Over in football, Spain beat Norway 1-0 at the UEFA Euro 2020 qualifiers. Xavi scored the only goal in the match. With this victory, Spain has booked their berth at Euro 2024. Spain's win also means Scotland qualifies for the tournament in Germany. And rounding off the headlines with tennis, Rohan Bopanna and Matthew Ebden finished as runners-up at the Shanghai Masters doubles event. However, the two have still managed to secure a spot in the season-ending ATP finals. Reaching the final automatically gave them the ticket to the prestigious season-ending finale. They will be held in Italy in November. This is the first time for Rohan Bopanna at this event. Now, I love a good underdog story because the dark horses in sport always make the stories so much more compelling. That's the thing about it. Anything is possible. It's where dreams are realized. Yesterday, it was the same for the Afghans who created history at the Cricket World Cup. Now, what makes it more glorious for them is the backdrop against which the men rose. For a country that's in constant turmoil and chaos, sports has become a new beacon of hope. A way of feeling joy and a sense of triumph that helps them look beyond suffering and violence and provide stories of inspiration and a fight to survive. Taliban's takeover in 2021 has wiped out lives, and that cruelty is going to leave a permanent cognitive stain on the residents. But what they also affected was the cricket in the country. Today, we look at the genesis and the journey of Afghanistan cricket. The sport started here during the 1830s, but it was not until the 1990s that the sport gained traction given its colonial history. After Soviet Union's invasion, many natives sought refuge in Pakistan. Much of cricket trickled down to the generations owing to that allegiance, and it's still running fresh in their veins. From there to now making heads turn in the apex cricket tournament in the world, to register only the second win in World Cups. Who could have thought that was possible? Now, the country's National Cricket Board was established in 1995. And 6 years later, its cricket team was formed. Then ICC granted affiliate membership status to Federation the same year. They played their first ever ODI match against Scotland in 2009. And since then, the team has taken part in regular international tours. It gets exposure to play with the top teams across the world. They are a stronger T20 international outfit, however. They are ranked number 10 in the world in the ICC rankings and have some notable achievements in this format. Like in the 2016 World Cup, when Afghanistan stunned the champions West Indies. In 2010, Afghanistan secured a spot in the ICC World T20 by winning the qualifiers in Dubai, defeating Ireland. Now let's compare their T20I records to the ones in the ODI format. If you just look at their win percentage alone, in T20s, it's a staggering 65%. They've won 68 out of the 104 matches that they've played, while in ODIs, it's a slightly skewed number. It's 48%. Clearly, they are a more prolific T20I outfit. That's because of their flamboyant style of play. Some of the key members of their lineup, like Rashid Khan, Mujibur Rahman, Mohammad Nabi, Rahmanullah Gurbaz now, are key members of T20 outfits in leagues across the world, particularly Rashid. That's why these men are more than just cricketers to their ravaged country. They are heroes, a symbol of what lies beyond the despondency of their state. They represent a positive future, a possibility of what lies ahead. That's why guys like Rashid Khan and many other senior performers in the side think of giving something back to their country, their community, through these wins. They're currently playing the World Cup even as an earthquake took its toll on their homes and their friends. And as their coach enlightened us, although they were focused to perform here, their mind was always there with their fellow folk, suffering back home. And that's what makes this achievement significant, because for Afghanistan, it isn't just a match that they have won. They are winning to give hope of something better out there to grasp and hold on to, an inspiration for future generations, of taking up the dream of playing cricket as a way to break away from all the chaos that reigns in those parts. And if Afghanistan created an upset, it's not the only team that did so at World Cups. Here are some other squads that pulled off stunning victories and massive upsets over the years. Take a look.
Now, after yesterday's shocker of a match, it's time for a flashback of the greatest upsets over the years. Ireland have punched above their weight twice in this aspect. One, unarguably, is when they won against England in 2011. Kevin O'Brien ruled and Ireland chased down that massive 328-run target. Then it was Pakistan in 2007. The Irishmen wrapped up a match on their national holiday with a win. Pakistan went crashing out of the World Cup in disdain. A revised target of 127 via the Duckworth-Lewis method worked wonders for Ireland. India's upset came in 2007 when they played Bangladesh. Sourav Ganguly's 66-run contribution went in vain. India was knocked out and Dravid ended up in tears. That upset handed by Bangladesh was buoyed again in 2011. This time it was England who were at the behest of Bangladesh's power play. Shafiul Islam was Bangladesh's light at the end of the tunnel. Shafiul and Mahmudullah pulled off 57 in 62 balls. England were pushed to a must-win match against the West Indies. In 2003, the 26th match between Kenya and Sri Lanka at Nairobi. It was the perfect underdog story that we look for. Kenya made the most out of playing in their home soil. Sri Lankan spinner Muralidharan wrecked Kenya's batting lineup, and Kenya's leg spinner Collins Uboya exacted revenge. Despite a low run target of 211 in 50 overs, Sri Lanka failed to meet it. It was a true masterclass on fielding and bowling by Kenya.
Speaking about England now, this was a team in red-hot form entering the tournament. They had handed New Zealand a series defeat just before. Ben Stokes had reversed his retirement to take part in the ODI World Cup. Jos Buttler, a captain on a high, a team with some very strong pieces in place, and above everything, defending champions of the World Cup. 3 matches in and 2 losses, probably not the way England would have fancied the start of their defence would look like. You can't take any team lightly, and England completely crumbled under the Afghani spinner attack in Delhi, India's capital city. There are absolutely no answers to Mujibur Rahman at the top, Mohammad Nabi in the middle overs, and Rashid Khan at the end. Only one batter stood in the ruins, Harry Brook, who showed some resistance, but he definitely had no support from the other end. Their batting has proved to be inconsistent and inept to face quality spin, especially in these conditions. And captain Jos Buttler was also quick to admit this has been a disappointing outing so far. And how they sort of move from here on is where the real test lies. Do they crumble or do they swing up? Now, their next match is it's a tough one, in fact, against one of the tournament favourites currently, South Africa. That is going to take place on the 21st at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Over to Formula One, and the starting point of our piece today is the collision Lewis Hamilton had with his own Mercedes teammate George Russell in the first corner of the Qatar Grand Prix over the weekend. Now, Hamilton, of course, accepted full responsibility for the clash that derailed both drivers, Russell briefly, but this meant Mercedes lost out on the opportunity to get a podium finish. So how did the collision occur? Russell was starting the grid second and Hamilton was on third, both behind Red Bull's Max Verstappen. The British pair came together on the first turn. Hamilton attempted to overtake his teammate on the outside, leaving Russell, who had Verstappen on the inside, nowhere to go. Now, could this collision have been avoided? Both the drivers were on different strategies. Hamilton was starting the race with soft tyres. Now, that means that he needed to get a start on Max at the beginning of the race itself. Now, how many times have we seen this in the middle of races? The team asking one of the drivers to fall back for the other to pull ahead. It's not a reflection of your ability, but just the strategy in play in that race. So why wasn't there one in the start of the race when we knew Hamilton was on the soft tyres, for especially the first part of the stretch? George Russell holding on to his position made this more difficult for Hamilton, not his fault either. So why was there no clear order or communication in this regard? What's happened post the collision is that Hamilton was fined, but the FIA, or the International Automobile Federation, is looking at a bigger punishment for Hamilton for crossing a live track without permission, a safety breach. Basically, he walked across after the crash in the middle of the race. And the reason for investigating this further is that they feel as a role model, Hamilton needs to be penalized for this. But today I want to talk about Lewis Hamilton and the tenuous relationships he happens to have shared with some of his teammates. Now, the beauty of F1 is that it offers individual glory as well as an environment of working alongside a driver for the larger goal, that of the team. So unique and rare in the world of sports. So why has Lewis Hamilton not struck a chord with some of his teammates? The most disturbing standoff was, of course, with his childhood friend Nico Rosberg. The two were buddies from karting days, but all of that changed pretty quickly when Hamilton joined Rosberg in Mercedes in 2013. Multiple incidents saw the friendship between the two fraying. The year 2014 was especially caustic. It was clear that 2014 was going to be a two-horse race between Rosberg and Hamilton. By the time the championship reached the 12th round in Belgium, the battle was finally poised, with Rosberg in the lead, but still everything to play for. Tensions were high in the Mercedes camp, especially after Hamilton had refused to move over for his teammate at the previous race in Hungary. This despite both drivers being on different strategies. So at the Belgian Grand Prix, Rosberg took pole, but Hamilton claimed the lead, putting his teammate on the back foot. Rosberg fought hard, and in one of the laps, while attempting a difficult maneuver, his front wing punctured Hamilton's left rear tyre, resulting in this statement and his retirement. Hamilton, in fact, was so enraged after that, he said, "It looked quite clear to me, but we just had a meeting about it," and he basically said he did it on purpose. He said, "I did it to prove a point." To which Rosberg at the press briefing said the stewards judged it as a racing incident, and that's the way one can describe it. Now, Rosberg was internally reprimanded, while Hamilton went on to win the next 5 races and, of course, the championship title. The 2016 face-off was even more thunderous. Again, the top two for the race to the title were Rosberg and Hamilton. Hamilton arrived at the Spanish Grand Prix 43 points behind Rosberg, but Rosberg was in the lead. But had left the car in the wrong engine setting that was slowing him down, and Hamilton began to gain in on him and was about to overtake. That's when Rosberg realized his error and moved over to cover off Hamilton's move. But Hamilton was in no mood to back down, and the pair collided on turn 4, ending up as a big pile of carbon fiber. Although stewards termed it as a racing incident, Mercedes called both drivers to explain themselves, and Mercedes' non-executive chairman back then, Niki Lauda, said, "The big question is whose fault was it really? For me, it was clear because Lewis was too aggressive going to the right, hit the grass, couldn't stop his car, and then hit him off." Now, the most epic battles have been with Spain's Fernando Alonso, who partnered Hamilton back at McLaren in 2007. Both young, promising tearaways back then. and he lasted just one season with Hamilton. At the 2007 Hungarian Grand Prix, things heated up so much that Alonso had to leave McLaren thereafter. With teammates, Hamilton always has that extra edge to show that he is the #1 driver in the franchise. And it's this very aggressive attitude that spills over to Formula One rivalries in the sport. Hamilton has had his fair share of run-ins with other top title contenders like Sebastian Vettel and, of course, Max Verstappen later on. He's had collisions with both. His recent feud with Verstappen was even fiery. At Silverstone, for instance, in 2021, he was adjudged to be at fault for causing a collision with the Red Bull driver that sent Verstappen careening off. He also had to be sent to the hospital to get checked in, and it costed Hamilton a 10-second penalty. Of course, it's another matter that Hamilton served out that penalty, came out on 5th position, and still managed to go on to win the race. But his wild celebrations thereafter left a bad taste in the mouth for Red Bull and Verstappen. Our read on this: Hamilton has always been a fighter. That's the way he drives. He's aggressive. He's an F1 legend. And that's the way he wants to drive. In a team, he needs to be #1. And anytime the teammate gets the better of him, there's this desire in the Brit Formula One champion to prove he's the better driver. So probably a fault lies with the team itself. Man management is an art. We know of so many instances back in the years when Michael Schumacher was the lead driver at Ferrari, of the team ordering Barrichello, for instance, to give way and he would oblige. There was a sporting camaraderie even in the rivalry. But with Hamilton, somehow it seems that if you are his rival, you are sure to be marked. And maybe that is just not a result of not just the kind of driver and the sporting personality that he is, but also a result of the team. In this case, Mercedes not really able to put down clear orders or strategies to keep the team together and as a whole, and not make it about Lewis Hamilton alone. Well, that does it here on Firstpost today. But before we go, on our last serve, India's city of joy, Kolkata, is celebrating the festival of Goddess Durga. They say that during this month, she visits and blesses us all. But the city, filled with die-hard football frenetic fans, witnessed God walking amidst them. Take a look.
Thank you very much. Very pleasure to stay here. Thank you.
Kolkata's love for football and the love that football greats have for the city will never end. But that's it we have on Firstpost today. Thanks for watching, but do not forget to keep tuning in to our constant coverage of the Cup of Dreams right here on Firstpost. For today, bye-bye. I'll see you again tomorrow.